Your repurposed freighter drifts through space. As you stare out at the star-flecked void, another ship comes in. Wait, is this sci-fi? I thought we agreed on a World War II campaign. Oh. Did we? That's cool. I can pivot. The smell of smoke curdles in your nostrils. Hold up, I thought we were prepping for a zombie apocalypse campaign. Alright, here's what we're doing. It's the year 3700. Humanity's elite fled to other planets long ago, taking with them all forms of advanced technology. Earth survivors scrape by with historic tools as weird phenomena plague abandoned nuclear sites. Witnesses report seeing glowing lights and the dead rising from their graves. And amidst the chaos, 3 strangers will meet in a dim bar. A veteran zombie slayer, a disgraced general out for revenge, and a space mercenary sent to investigate the power plants. Now describe your characters. How did you do that? I have the right tools for the job. There's somewhere we need to go. It's been shrouded for so long, there won't be any path for us to follow. The only person who knew the way is gone. But in my dreams, I swear, I've seen it. The mist-shrouded hills, the forgotten halls, the dungeon that never ends. It's like we've been there before, like this story is already a part of ours, like it's waiting for us, at the edge of our imagination. That is where our journey begins.
Trollord Games, join the fray. And the Trollord yawns. And the Trollord yawns.
There we go. It is. Can everybody hear me? Are we alive and all that stuff?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. You're good. Good.
Well, you can always hear me, Chuck, but half times these.
Look at Hallgroth. He's out of the gate with a question before I can even say anything.
There you go. That's the way to roll in. Roll in with fire. That's the way to do it.
Before you answer that, let me make one quick announcement real quick. Can I do that?
Announcements.
Exceedingly important. This has been approved by the CEO of the company. All right. So
I doubt this.
Just hold your horses. Are you watching chat?
Get to it. I'm watching chat. Yes.
All right then. Here it comes. You ready? Booyah! Look at that. That's right. We're trying to get 4,000 followers before the launch.
Yes, indeed. It's roaring too. It's just taking up along. What are we at? We are at 3,544. So that's very, very good.
Oh yeah.
How's it going, Alan? Your screens were dropped in the mail today, so you are golden. They should be there as soon as UPS gets them to you, I suppose. However that works. No, yesterday it started at 3,107. I remember that number because I kept writing it backwards to Grace about 78 times. So we've reached about 500 new backers today or in the last 24 hours. If I unsign up and sign up again, 500. That does count. Absolutely. I don't know how to do that. So Got me a Dr. Pepper. Thank you, Lando. Very much appreciated. Great minds, Lando. Great minds. Got it. I got to get back on the Discord. This is February 25th, 2025. There's way too many twos in the dates these days. February 25th, whatever, 2025. And I'm Stephen Chenault. This is Chenault Lord Games, CEO. Questions, if you have any, throw them in my direction. And I will do my damnedest to answer them as I can. We're living high on the hog these days. Things are going well around here, so we're all enjoying an overburdened workplace. So lots going on. So any questions? Chuck knows. Hey, enthusiasm. I am too, DM John. I've got into it. Yesterday was the first time in a very long time that I actually got into the meat of this stuff. A little bit last week and a little bit previous, but now that we're up to the plate, it's time to dive into it. And so the files came to me in those days back in 2005 when we began to work on this with ZAGYG. The files came to me from several directions. Gary would send me some of the files. Some he would filter through Davis and Peter, and then others, and a lot that went to Davis never got to me. And then later, when all of the stuff was done, everything was put on CD-ROMs. There's this story I have told a few times about going to Davis's house, and there's all these bins, these open bins sitting out in the backyard, like 6 or 7 of them or something, and they were filled with Troll Lord memorabilia stuff, not memorabilia, but stuff that we had done to operate the company. And it was raining when I happened to stop by. So everything was just getting wet, and in it was a stack of CD-ROMs, and on those CD-ROMs was this ton of Gary's material that Gary had sent Davis, and Davis had just thrown in a bin and tossed the bin out of his workshop.
Oh my God. I hate these horror stories you tell.
So I gathered them all up. So I never really had time to get into it and sort through it all. So a lot of it was marked Castle ZAGYG. I just copied it and dropped it into the Castle ZAGYG folders, and there it's at. And so it's in this, there's just disarray. There's just files in disarray. So I'm constantly going through finding stuff. Some of it made it into ZAGYG. Most of it did. A little bit of it didn't. You'll see that stuff that didn't. It'll make it this time around. Here at Sparky, I actually thought about you today because I thought I just need to give this to Sparky and let him go through everything and put it where it goes. It's just so many files. Are you going to do a marathon live show in the back? We talked about that yesterday, Death Angel Shadow. I think that we are. You jump in there and just jabber all day. We can live stream it on Backer Kid, of course. We can do all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, I think that's what we are going to do. Y'all need to distract him with fire or something when he raid his house and say things. Yeah,
this is why you now I understand why you have all these shit. I understand.
Oh yeah,
completely.
Yeah. He doesn't really think in that. He doesn't have a collector's mindset at all. Right. I will say this: in the last year or so, he's kind of developed it, and he's kind of trying to save some of that stuff now. But previous, so much of it was he just doesn't care. Even as kids, he didn't care.
Like, oh, it's number 3 Conan in my trash can. Oh, I should probably keep this. He dug something out on stream one day. I don't think you were with us, and you dug around in this heap, and I was like, it was something like.
Oh yeah, no, there's tons of it. And some of the stuff you got to keep in mind, Davis. So Davis got into wargaming very early. He was 10 or whatever in the early 70s. He was probably 8 when he started buying this because we were both into comic books. He got into comic books. He got me into comic books later, but as I aged into it. But so Davis started after we started playing Dungeons and Dragons in '75. He thinks it might have been earlier. I don't know. I don't really know the timelines of all of these things. We have the brown books. When he started playing in '75, he immediately started buying stuff. Now you gotta think 1970s style. Comic book stores were not in industrialized bookshops in those days. They were kind of you either got your comic books at the grocery store or a hardware store that had a big magazine rack that also had comic books thrown in there, or you would find these small little kind of hole in the wall shops that were just literally that, and they would have all of this weird esoteric stuff. Sears carried some stuff. Toy stores carried toys. That was later though. That actually was later. So Davis ended up with all kinds of just weird stuff. And one of the things that comes to mind the most There's War of the Rings, which is a Lord of the Rings board game. If you've never played it, you should play it. And you're into board games, it is fucking fantastic. One of the best board games ever made, in my opinion. Well, Davis has two versions of it. He's got the re-release that came out late 70s or whatever, but he's got the original one that came out. It's got kind of a brown lid, and there's no paper maps inside of it. All of it's cardboard maps, because the early war games were chipboard. So I think that stuff's really valuable. But he didn't take care of any of it. I didn't. I barely took care of it. But I got, once I ran a comic book store in the mid 80s, and after that I realized the value of this stuff, and I started taking Davis's stuff at that point. Whenever I could get a hold of it, because he just wouldn't take care of it. But I may have to do that, Sparky. Do we have some questions?
We got one here. Well, John was asking, where are we looking at for backer levels and stuff?
We haven't. We're going to settle that, actually. Chuck's on a project right now, and when Chuck is finished with that, he, Davis, I will sit down and iron that out. I've got a pretty good roadmap that I want to do, and I want to give everyone a sticker shock. It's not going to be a cheap buy-in. This is not. We're not going small. This is Gary Gygax, full color, 300-page books. So it's not going to be, and lots of maps. So it's going to be something. We're going all in, as Gary would have wanted to, as we intended to do back in the day, but full color this time. So probably not many pledge levels, but the buy-in is going to be pretty stout. We're not going to do the pick and pack thing where you get to pick pieces of this.
Okay.
But
you'd asked for those notes early, and I sent those over to Scott for you.
Oh, okay, right, got you.
And let's see. Okay, we're caught up on questions for that.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, so Castle ZAGYG, we are going to launch Monday. I think it's 10 a.m. We've got a sign-up page right now, and like I mentioned earlier, it has been a bizarre walk into both memory lane and This Is Badass lane, going through Gary's old files, both the ones that we had edited and were prepping to put out, and then all of this other stuff. I found all of his original kind of sketch maps for what street blocks in Yigsburg would look like. I found his original ounce in map, which we're actually going to include. We're going to include that in for those. If you sign up, you get the ounce in for free. We're going to send that either on Kickstarter launch day or within 48 hours. And in that, we're going to go ahead and include his original color sketch that he did for the ounce in. And the ounce in, for those of you who don't know, is really kind of the launch point. I think this was Gary's intent. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but you have the city of Yigsburg, and outside of it is this neighborhood called the Ounce, because it's outside of Yigsburg, and in the Ounce is the Ounce Inn, and this is kind of an inn where merchants go, adventurers go. You know, it's a little bit nefarious. There's not really law out here. So my guess is that he intended the Ounce Inn to be kind of the launching point for your campaign into the Eastmark and Castle ZAGYG itself. Chuck, you got a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. I have never seen like the overall. I'm assuming there's an overall map somewhere that shows all of this.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
So
that's what I'm really curious about, because I don't, I hear all this, but I can't place it in my head.
We're going to put that up on the Kickstarter, so everybody, because it is what he had basically done. Now you got to keep in mind that originally, when Gary still owned Greyhawk, there was Greyhawk, and then Yigsburg is down from Greyhawk, and then there's Greyhawk Castle. So I don't think Yigsburg is Greyhawk. Dunfalcon, which is a town you'll see mentioned here in the Yigsburg stuff, is the Greyhawk thing. So Yigsburg is kind of a side town to it. But you have the Eastmark setting, which I want to say is about 25 square miles. Honestly, can't remember. Don't quote me on that. And you have the small town of Yigsburg, which is supposed to be, I want to say, 30 miles from Dunfalcon, a larger coastal city, or lake city, however you want to put it in your own setting. And then Castle Greyhawk is there as well. So it gets a little bit confusing. The whole property is called Castle ZAGYG. Oh, no, I said Castle Greyhawk, but Castle ZAGYG. The whole property is called Castle ZAGYG, but Castle ZAGYG is a location in the Eastmark. I hope that was clear as mud.
A map will be helpful for sure for me, anyways. I don't think I didn't have any of that stuff back when we published it. I didn't get any of it early on. I bought like adventures and stuff. I didn't buy any of that. And so I've never really been able to dive into it. I've got Yigsburg here, but I've still not opened the box and looked at it.
It's huge. The upper works, it's all just huge. It's monstrous. And I got into the files yesterday, and there's 27 levels that Gary had intended. It's 17 regular levels, and then another 10 sub levels. Now, some of the sub levels are very, very small, but
Right.
It's just a reservoir or something. But it is, and the upper works are about a third the size, and the upper works is the castle and the towers and the castle grounds and the mouths of madness. That's all about a third the size of the dungeon. So there's so much content here. It's crazy.
The Death Angel's Shadow had a good question that I can't answer, but I'll check into it. He was trying to remember if Backer Kit did pay over time. That's a really good question.
Yeah, that I don't know. I can't. This is our first Backer Kit crowdfunding campaign.
I'm
They worked very hard with us. We've got a couple of folks over there that are, kind of hand walking us through things. Right. So we're very, very, very happy with Backer Kit. So we'll see. It's nice to move off of Kickstarter, see how this guy's going to do over at Backer Kit. I'm sure everyone will find Goodman Games. For those of you who don't know, Joe Goodman is a good friend of mine. He does. I think he's migrated his whole crowdfunding over to Backer Kit. I think
he or what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, there was another comment there. John said that Benoist had actually posted his custom map of that.
Oh, I didn't know. Of Yigsburg?
Let's see. According to Yigsburg, ZAGYG and Earth.
Oh, interesting. Is that on his Facebook?
He posted in Discord, I reckon. According to Linda.
So, for those of you who don't know, Benoit is he's a Canadian designer. He's French. I don't know, but he lives in Canada. Worked with Ernie Gygax to bring out the Memorial Tomb, which we publish here at Troller Games. And his maps in that work are works of art. I mean, they are absolute works of art. He just crazy beautiful. Absolutely.
There's no arguing that. That's for sure.
No, they're just amazing.
It is.
I have multiple campaigns set in Eastmark going for 8 years now. Well, this is going to be a godsend for you, DM John. That's very, very cool. I had a long conversation with Mike Stewart yesterday, who's writing the adventures. We're on the same sheet of music. He's done level 2. He's on level 3 now. And we wanted to kind of spur him along now that we've kind of worked through some of the other issues. But so it's going to start coming faster than we're looking at 2 crowdfunding campaigns. First one for 3 books, the second one for 2 books, and that should get you everything from start to finish. As Gary envisioned it, obviously won't have anything that he had kind of intended. And the only thing that we aren't planning on including in this round are the city books that go into Yigsburg and the adventures attached to it, like Backmash North. We will revisit those as soon as we're done with this stuff. Between Troller and Goodman Games, it could be set up for like a top-notch teacher. Thank you, RML. Goodman Games. For those of you who haven't, go check out Goodman. It's just great stuff. Joe's a great guy. The team over there is fantastic. Joe cracks me up. I've known him for forever and a day. And we got a panel. We just finalized a panel at Gamehole Con, and he wrote. I'll read you. He wrote what the folks over there asked us to do a panel, and I said, Joe, what do you want to do? So this is what he wrote. This is what the panel is going to be. It's entitled "Back in My Day: Wizard RPG Publishers Talk About the Old Days." Join high-level publishers Steve Chenault of Troller Games and Joseph Goodman of Goodman Games as they talk about the good old days. Both their companies launched in the 3E era, survived the 4E era, and have thrived in the 5E era. Hear them discuss publishing through 3 editions of D&D, working with legends like Gary Gygax and Lou Zaki, what it was like to publish before email existed, what whole online store thing and how it's never going to catch on. What the hell is a PDF anyway? I liked it better when they had staples. By the way, get off my lawn, all that and more in this exciting seminar. Now, where did I put my glasses? So that is absolutely fantastic.
That's funny.
Pure Joe Goodman. So that's good, Malaki. That's the way to do it. Bring them both over. Absolutely. I didn't like it better when they had staples. I did until the paper got heavy. Jeremy, as soon as the paper got heavy, your saddle stitch books have that fold that it can't do anymore. When you get over about 24 pages, it might be 28. I can't remember now. the 60-pound gloss paper folds, and you got that curve and the binding that drives me absolutely batshit crazy. It's one reason we shut down our saddle stitcher and just went pure perfect bound at that point. I do not like bindings that do that. Maybe you may, every time I try to get, even like if you look at our Conan books that we did, I don't know if you got those, Jeremy, but I tried to get them to do the newspaper print paper, which is what we were used to back in the 70s and 80s, which made the book very light, very easy to read. And newsprint shouldn't be mistaken for something that tears very easy. It doesn't. You can tear it, obviously, but the folks at Walmart didn't even have newsprint paper. So I mean, it's a whole thing. The whole paper. It's the paper industrial complex. They're trying to control what we read. I don't know. I have no idea.
Finally.
Are you drinking a Dr. Pepper?
Well, zero.
It's zero. Yeah, there you go.
Finally, it's the end of the day.
Yes. Big paper's going to get us all. They're going to get us all. But there you go. Whatever people are upset about these days.
I've got something coming over from the Raven. If you know who that is.
Peter Bradley knows. Peter Bradley's been working. How long have we been working together, Peter?
There he is. Speak of the devil. There's the Raven, right?
Yeah. So Raven Child Art is Peter Bradley, very, very insanely good friend of mine, and stalwart troll lord of olden times. But Peter's been listening to me rant about paper for 2 decades now. So, poor bastard. I'm angry about it.
So Steve, I'm gonna put.
We have any more questions that float?
Well, I'm gonna have some for you, probably. If that's okay. I'm gonna have some for you, probably. Maybe.
What's going on? Yes.
There we go. All right, let me get this jewel over here. I'm gonna drop something on the stream for everybody to look at, including you. While I set this up, check those notes I sent you on Skype, and then I'm gonna also. Can you tell everybody a little bit about this real quick? I'm gonna put up.
I can, but I do want to answer Doc Shoulder's question.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Let me answer that first, and then I'll discuss the art. So let's see. Doc Shoulder asked, "Are you guys just printing what was made, or are you writing and editing levels that were sketched out?" So Gary Gygax never actually wrote the Castle ZAGYG material. What he had was what he called the Bible, and it's a mountain of paper and maps and notes and stuff like that. None of it was an impublishable format. And he was very adamant about not putting it out in this format. He wanted it to all be written up just like you would find in the Village of Hamlet. Now, originally he had hired a team to help him do that. Jeff Talanian over at Northwind Adventures became kind of the cornerstone of that, and then just became the author for the Castle ZAGYG stuff. He wrote Mouths of Madness and Upper Works and the Storerooms, which is level 1 of the dungeons itself. So what we've done now, Jeff's got his plate full. Jeff, another good friend of mine, I've talked to him quite a bit. I need to text him actually after the stream. He's not going to be involved in the project other than to kind of help guide me where I may get lost in certain stuff. But he only worked on the first 4 or 5 levels. So pretty soon we'll run out of Jeff Talanian knowledge. But Jeff wrote those, and now we've hired Mike Stewart to write them. And what we're doing is taking Gary's notes and infusing those notes into a playable level or section of the dungeon that reads like the Village of Hamlet, the Moat House. Think the Moat House. That's what Gary wanted for the Castle ZAGYG. So at no point was any of this. Well, I should back up on that. The city of Yigsburg. So where's that book?
I've got something to show you here, Steve, while you're talking, since you went into this spiel. I have the map. Raven sent it over, or Peter sent it over to me. I'm gonna throw it up.
Okay, good. All right, so this is of the Kickstarter of the backer kit we're going to be doing. This is volume 1. We're going to redo volume 1. This was all written by Gary Gygax. This is the city, the Yigsburg city. That's what he was the most passionate about. The dungeon and the castle. The castle was written by Jeffrey Talanian, and the first level of the dungeon was written by Jeffrey Talanian, and the other 26 levels will be written by Mike Stewart.
Yeah.
So that's how that's going to play out. So there's no real, other than Yigsburg, there's no real, this is Gary Gygax, what he wrote. But all of his notes are in there.
The new follower has joined the fray.
We're doing this stuff that doesn't exist in any game. And I said, we've got to write it up. That's what Gary wanted in there. We got to make sure it's in there. So that's the way that's going to play it. Was there something I needed? There was a picture that's gone now.
Hmm.
You wanted me to just go?
No, I sent you some notes over that last line. If you'll read it, I'm gonna. Jeremy, the map should be fine. It's our map. We should be okay to put it up, I would think. In fact, I think I've actually.
If it's Peters, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Darlene's.
it's Peters.
Yeah, Doc, we're going to do all of them. We're doing the whole thing, and we're moving on it now, and we're not going to stop until it's done. We're not going to take 6 years off or any of that stuff. The plan is the first crowdfunding campaign launches on Monday, and the next crowdfunding campaign will either be fourth quarter this year or first quarter next year, and we're just going to hammer these out. I mean, we've got the team in place. We've got everything ready to go. That is Peter Bradley's picture of the East Mark, so you can see. So I can't quite focus in on that, but that dark black blob at the bottom, I believe, is the city of Yigsburg. Peter, one of you guys drop that in my Skype so I can actually walk people through it.
Yeah. I got it.
Bottom left. Is that black kind of?
There you go. Sent you the full TIFF.
All right. Let's see if I can. I've got that somewhere. I just don't want to hunt it.
Yeah, you've sent it to me before. Actually, as soon as I opened it up from Peter, I was like, "Oh, I've had this before somewhere." I probably still have it in my damn downloads folder. There's a screenshot. Use that screenshot there because the other one's taking forever to load.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so that black kind of triangle you see down in the lower left-hand corner, that is the town of Yigsburg. The two rivers come together there. It's the Nemo River, and I can't remember the other one. Ford, that's not right. It's the River Nemo and something else. Can't remember off the top of my head. But this whole area is the East Mark, and this East Mark is where your adventures are going to take place. And Jeff Talanian wrote up most of this stuff, so we've got kind of an idea of everything that's going on there. There's a couple of villages that Gary outlined, and you can see encounter areas that he's got there. Now, I don't know if you can see it up to the top of the map. You're going to see, let's see if I can find it now. Yeah, you should be able to see it. So go due north from Yigsburg, about 3/4, maybe 4/5 of the way straight up, and to your right, you're going to see two rivers cutting through a forest.
Yeah.
And Castle ZAGYG sits overlooking one of those rivers.
Wait. All the way up in the upper right-hand corner?
No. So start at your triangle.
Oh, okay.
And go north to the Gray Pools Mire.
Okay.
And then go north just a little bit more, and then to your right, you'll see a black dot that is Castle ZAGYG.
Yeah, okay.
Now, can you point that out to people online? Can you kind of do a pointer? I don't know if you can do that.
I can do that. The map's kind of small, but now I had a thought though for tomorrow night's show. I'm going to break this into sections so we can actually, look at it.
There's so many rivers, Asher. There's so many rivers on this map. It's awesome. It's the False Earth River, is what Peter says. So it's just really.
Yeah, it's right here.
The setting is very cool. It's just very cool. And it's contained. What's nice about it, of many, many things, it's contained. So you can take the East Mark folio. What do we have? 1 hex is a mile. So it's about 25 miles by 25 miles. You can take this and drop this into most settings, whether it's Greyhawk or Aired or, whatever. So it's very, very, very important. Yes, that is where Castle ZAGYG is. Is that right? Yes, that is where Castle ZAGYG is. Now, you will also see on that map Dark Chateau, which was written by Rob Kuntz. We do not have permission to put that in there, and we are not going to, so you won't have the Dark Chateau stuff. Whether we replace it with something or not, probably not. Probably going to leave that to you all. We published the Dark Chateau years and years ago. I'm sure you can find it somewhere online, or get a hold of Rob Kuntz because he owns that material. As he comment is referring to your last stream, please don't change humans to 2 primes on Barsoom. I need my aired humans and my amazing adventures humans to be compatible with Barsoom. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Barsoom humans when they travel through a magical portal. That's a very, very good point. So what Dread Monkey Lord is talking about, later this year, we've got Barsoom. We're going to be coming out with the Barsoom role-playing. Well, we'll be developing the Barsoom role-playing game. It won't come out this year. But and in that, one of the things that I am going to sit down with the designers and talk about is I don't want, for those people who play humans, I don't want that human to outclass anything that you play on Barsoom. And for those of you who don't know, humans in the world of Mars and Barsoom and Edgar Rice Burroughs' world, when you're a human and you go to Mars, you have extraordinary strength and you have extraordinary abilities to leap. It's like 50 meters or something like that. I can't remember. And that's going to give the humans an advantage on Mars, on Barsoom. And I want that advantage to be curtailed somewhat so people will be encouraged to play the other creatures. But that's a great, absolutely great point, Dread Monkey. If I did change that up, that would mess up everybody's humans that you're bringing over from whatever game you're bringing over. Off topic, my plans for the new Amazing Adventures modules. Doc Shoulder, I would answer that if I could. If Jason were here, I know that he's wrapping up Exaltum now. He's got 2 small Amazing Adventures projects to finish. One is fiction, and I don't know what the other one is. It's some kind of, it's the St. John.
It matches the other one, but it's something different. It's like a source book or something or whatever.
Yeah, it's a source book. And then after that, he's on to the Monstorum book. But with all of that said, I have started working on an Amazing adventure, and we're trying to get some more out because we really would like one to come out every 2 months. That was the plan when the year started. We have one coming out, and this is an older one, Rings or Rise of the Red God in 2 weeks. Rings of the Red God, that should be out. And I think that'll have caught us up with everything we've previously published, and then we'll be looking at something else. So for a month or 2 after that. So that's definitely on the Julio. Well, yeah, absolutely, Greg Rage. We got Dark right after Castle ZAGYG. We'll begin. Though it seems like we're spread thin, we're really not. We've got separate people working on Castle ZAGYG. The Barsoom stuff we will dive into, and that'll be me, Davis, Jason, Jeremy, and Chuck. Where myself, Davis, and Mike Stewart work on the ZAGYG stuff, and Peter will be in amongst all of the stuff. Peter's got a lot of covers in front of him. He's currently working on Volume 1 of Castle ZAGYG, and I've told him to take his extraordinary amount of time as he needs to get it right. So he's happy with it, and I'm happy with it, and everybody's happy with it. For those of you who don't know, we published the first section of Castle ZAGYG years ago, back in 2008. And Peter, as he is now, he was then main artist, cartographer, and he was working on all this stuff when the licenses were pulled from us. And this was like, I want to say June or July or August. I can't remember, somewhere around in there. And I asked the license holder if we could hold that until we got Castle ZAGYG out, because we had promised it to so many people, the first part of Castle ZAGYG. And she said yes. So we were given till December. So I got Peter on the phone and said, dude, we got to get all of this wrapped up now. So he had to put some covers together that he was never particularly happy with. It's great art, but he just wasn't.
Right. Okay.
He just wasn't happy with it. So this time around, we're going to make sure Peter's happy. I'm happy. Gay Davis is happy. Everybody but Chuck. We don't worry about Chuck.
I just take it and go with it. Odd One Man asks, so he's wanting to know about the map up there for that. Is there a whole world, or is that just part of a world, or what's the setting there for that?
So this was originally created for the world of Greyhawk, so that material would fit kind of south and east of Greyhawk. No, south and west of Greyhawk, the old TSR world. Otherwise, Gary developed nothing beyond this map. Once he lost, ownership of Greyhawk, he just focused on the East Mark. And he really, I cannot stress this enough, his real passion was that city, the city of Yigsburg. He just wanted to develop that city. He loved writing on it. He loved creating the NPCs for it, the neighborhoods. For those of you who are familiar, he wrote a series of 6 or 7 novels called Gord the Rogue, and they all take place in this kind of, what is that Charles Dickens story, Oliver Twist, that kind of, the mean, dirty streets, think gangs of New York type thing. Gary absolutely loved that stuff. He loved Yigsburg. So the castle and the dungeon were kind of side notes to what he really wanted to work on. And the East Mark becomes that setting that feeds Yigsburg. It's all Yigsburg needs to stay alive as a city. And in this kind of small milieu. So you can take that, place it anywhere, but there's nothing beyond what he created there.
Let's see.
Well, go ahead.
There's a question from Mr. Rufus. Will we have a Brazilian version of this incredible castle? That must be from Brazil.
We just signed some contracts with is it Atheos? Did I say that correctly? I got to get some more files to him. We're probably going to do Dropbox on that. Alan, I think you're still out there. I'll give you an email and all the crap on that so you can dive into that. But yeah, I mean, we would love to. Now, we don't have permission to do. I'd have to look. We may actually have permission to do it in other languages.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
I'd have to look at the contract. I haven't looked at it in over a year, but we would love to. I mean, this stuff is cool. It's not just we're publishing Gary Gygax, good friend of mine, you know, father of the industry, all that type of stuff. This stuff is badass, and it needs to be in front of the public. It needs to be at your gaming tables, and that's really, you know, the heart of it.
Did Gary did he keep working on stuff even after ZAGYG was published? Was he still writing for ZAGYG since that was his
he was writing for ZAGYG, is what he was mostly writing for.
That's what I thought. He just kept on with it, didn't he? Yeah, right.
Yeah, he absolutely loved it. He was at that point. He was kind of what's the maestro? Is that, can we say that? Is that the conductor? He had a team of about 10 people that were all writing sections of the city, and Jeff was working on the dungeons, and Peter Bradley was working on the maps and the art. There was just so much stuff going on, and Davis was in it too. Davis was, I can't remember what Davis was doing. But there was so much going on but his primary joy and focus was the city, because we were going to do 24 books. I think it was 24 48-page books on ZAGYG itself.
Holy are you serious?
Yeah,
my God.
Find that it was crazy.
That is
and I loved it because the way I game, this fits beautifully because I love the detail. I may not use it all. I may kind of skim through it, but I absolutely love the detail. Let's see if I can get there. I was in there this afternoon. And just for everybody's, just so you know, tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., Luca Gygax and myself will be on stream here talking about this stuff. And he's going to be able to answer more intimate details about Gary's playing habits and whatnot. All right, so we got a master file called, where is it? There's a master file, the ZAGYG Towns. Expansion, no, that's not going to be the one. Man, I found this today. I had it open today. I was looking at something for Jeremy. He was editing the ounce in, bringing it up to Reforged. So I was buried into this stuff. Wouldn't be in upper works. I don't think it's going to be. No, it's not going to be in there for sure. Again, these files are just, man, they're just all over the place.
Noble Shield says there's a reason why this is the granddaddy.
Yeah. Yeah. ZAGYG City expansions. Let's see if this. Okay, does everyone want? I found it. Do you want me to read these things to you? So ZAGYG, I can't remember offhand its population, but the ounce has a population of 4,000. So I'm guessing ZAGYG is like 20,000 or something, 25,000.
Right.
So he wanted a 48-page, roughly 40 to 48 pages on each of these sections. Well, I shouldn't say sections. Each one was a neighborhood, and each neighborhood was very distinctive, and he wanted them very distinctive. And he wanted you to be able to go into this city, and if you go to the Dargs or to the Manors, there you know where the inn is, you know who the innkeeper is, the whole 9 yards. He wanted crazy detail. So the districts are, and ZAGYG districts are Citadel End, the Grand Temple and College District, the Burgers Quarter, the Grey Friars, the Bridgegate Markets, High Gardens, Jewel District, Rivergate Quarter, East Corner, the Dargs, Storehouse District, Moatgate Quarter, Town Halls District, West Market Sector, the Rakes, the Manors, Gaming District, Workmen's Sector, Mixed Company District, and then outside of the town, in the outs was the Rivermen's Town, East Road and the Insiders, the Mills and the Scales Bank, Hookton, the Five Farms and Wise Cemetery, Watergate Bridge, and Newton. So those are your sections. It's just amazing, the amount of detail. And I really, now, in the immediate next 10 months, we don't have these 24 districts on our radar. However, we do have the license to expand them. So we are hoping, as we go forward, and like, I want to say 8 of these were written. It may be a few more. I'll have to reach out to all the authors, talk to them, and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and to kind of to rebuild it. But I would love to get these things back out as well.
Let's see. MJ Cook asks, any updates from the Gygax estate about more of Gary's work that can be published?
So we have, I don't think it's gone before the court yet, but we have sent over a proposal to do the Gord the Road novels. And I think Legendary Adventures, after we look at the proposal, but it's going to take, you know, as all the courts are backed up for whatever reason. The whole constitutional speedy trial thing, I don't think that's a thing anymore. That kind of got derailed a couple of decades ago. So as soon as we know something, you guys will know something. I'd really like to do the Gord the Road novels. I think they'd be very cool. Though what we're going to do after this, as we're working on this and going into next year, as we wrap up Castle ZAGYG, we'll dive feet first into Hall of Many Pains. That's what Davis and I want out equally as much as this, because it is so cool. It is just so cool. And we're trying to get Bill Edmonds in to do a lot of the layout and formatting for us, so Peter can focus on the art and Bill can focus on the layout, and we'll see where we land on that in the next week or so.
Okay. Noble Shield says, from what I've heard, this is basically as close as you can get to the final Castle Greyhawk. It's not the original 1974 version, of course, but as close as you can get to what Gary's vision was.
Yeah, absolutely. And his vision was, now I've got that 74 one around here, I think, but his vision had moved beyond that. He really, think about T1, think about the village of Hamlet and the Moat House. When you play in T1, for those of you who don't know, T1 was published back in 81 or 80 or 79 or something like that. Gary wrote it, and it's about 20 pages, and it's a small village, the village of Hamlet, a road, and then this ruined moat house that you go into. The moat house has, it's I think 2 levels in the moat, the castle itself, the little moat house castle, and then 2 dungeon levels, or maybe 1 big dungeon level underneath it. But in that, when you read through T1, he details every villager. Every villager has a name, a profession, where they hide their gold, and all of that stuff. It's so detailed that I've probably played since I've been gaming in the mid-70s, I've probably played the village of Hamlet easily 15 times, starting campaigns there. And most recently, about 6 months ago. Because you can shift it, people coming in from any direction or whatever, and they interact with different peasants. It's just really cool. The whole thing's cool, and that's how he envisioned doing Castle ZAGYG. And if you look at Yigsburg, which we got out, if you look at this, it's detailed as all hell. I mean, there's tons of NPCs in there, tons of orders in there, menus and taverns. I mean, it's just all kinds of cool stuff.
It's almost like a source book, isn't it?
It's a source book. I mean,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it is everything you need to get going, sit down, read it, and just dive through, and you'll see where Gary was going, where he wanted to go.
Yeah.
With all of this material.
Doc Schroeder asked, how close to the castle and dungeon were his home campaign, you think?
That I don't know. That's a great question for Luke tomorrow. I can tell you this.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I can tell you this, that looking at his notes from the Bible, he would have rooms, a description of what's in the room, and then next to it were initials, and I couldn't figure out what those meant. We were trying to line them up with the maps and figure out what he meant. So I gave Luke a call, Luke Gygax, for those that don't know, his one of his sons. I called Luke up and said, what is this? He goes, oh, those are the characters that got killed.
Oh, shit, really? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and I should have known, because it was like, I can't, whatever, Luke's characters, where's the archer, whoever. So he definitely played through this stuff at home with his children and killed his children in many of these rooms. So it's really good.
DM John, I think you've already answered this, though. He said, are all the areas of the city being released as well? I think you read them all out there.
We hope to next year get into that. We have a license to do it. Luke and I had a long conversation about that a few months ago when we were at a convention somewhere. I don't know where we were. And we're going to put those kind of on the back burner, simply because Castle ZAGYG is what we've got. I mean, the dungeons is what we've got to get out. That's what people my age have been waiting for since the mid-70s, and younger people are just hearing about it. We've got to get this stuff out, and I don't want other material to distract us. If you were to give me my druthers, because I'm not a dungeon guy, and the castle and Yigsburg is all I really need here, and I'm off to the Hall of Many Pains. I don't really need the dungeon for my own personal style, but I know I'm wanted, for the dungeon stuff. Everyone loves dungeons. So we got to get this stuff out. So as soon as this stuff is through the pipe and we are comfortable, then we'll turn around and look at these 24 districts.
Okay. Let's see. Touch of Evil. Doctor says, statement and question. Statement. I love engineering villages. Really makes me rethink my homebrew material. Question. Any follow-up for a 4th book in the engineering series? Pantheons, factions, etc. Something?
Yeah, so we've got quite a few engineering. Next, Davis will. I haven't told Davis this yet. He wrote Engineering Villages. He did an absolutely fantastic job. But now I can't remember what I've titled it, but it's the next section in the Castle Keeper's Guide. It's Engineering Towns and Cities, I think.
Yeah.
I think this one, didn't the one we just put out include towns? I can't remember. It's hamlets, villages. No, it did not. So the next one is going to be Engineering Towns and Cities. and I put together the notes for a book that I want written, and Todd Gray has said he would give me an outline by next week. It's going to be engineering magic items. So it'll have a whole bunch of new magic items, a ton of new magic items, and then how to make magic items in it as well.
That's
So
excellent.
we've got quite a few. Yeah, we've got those two, and then Jeremy is working on engineering familiars. So we've got, and that's kind of mystical companions re-envision. So the engineering series you're going to see grow in the very near future.
Yeah, I've still got to get my engineering nature done.
Yes, we're waiting, Chuck. Sorry, we're waiting for the Codex of the Plains too.
Yeah.
So
No, I can't say that though. You put that.
oh, that's right. Jeremy corrected me. He is correct. The
Oh shit, that's right. Adventures Net. That's right. You're right.
It will not be the Familiars book is not part of the engineering series. It is part of the Adventurer series. Adventurer's Backpack, Adventurer's Spellbook, Adventurer's Familiars. Thank you, Jeremy.
You're right. And I probably
jumbled in my head.
I probably need to be corrected too.
I'll tell you what's really nice. Now that Reforged is done, both Amazing Adventures Reforged and Castles and Crusades Reforged, and we're on our last 2 hours of work on Beneath the Canopy Green. So that's all behind us. The Armory books are at the printers. I approved the proofs last week or this week. I don't know. I think it was last week. I don't know. So all of that stuff, other than the Exaltum and the Infernum book, and we now can look to new product. As Mike Stewart writes and works on Castle ZAGYG, we can look to new product. That's why you're seeing the starter kit. It's not going to make Gary Con. We almost did. It'll be out about 2 weeks after Gary Con. But yeah, I got that bad news today from the box printer. It takes 4 weeks to print the box, so the box will arrive here about the time that we are at Gary Con. So,
can we get a short run somewhere? Damn it!
No, it's just not going to make it. But yeah, so we're finally able to kind of jump back into where we were 18 months ago or 14 months ago, whenever Wizards of the Coast decided to
change things up. Let's see. Torlock72 asks, what would be your dream project to work
on? So personally, I would like to stop half of what I'm doing and spend about half of each day writing fiction for air. That would be my absolute dream project. I would love to do that. And kind of ancillary stuff, I would love to be able to spend a few hours a week working on RPG stuff like Codex of the Plains. I love that type of material. And then I would like to do, and this is all in the fishbowl. Davis and I talked about this again over the weekend. Davis and I hit the road once a month and just go to unusual places in the United States, run a podcast from it, talk about UFOs, Bigfoot, the New Jersey Devil, whatever interesting stuff is out there. And I think...
Sorry.
So Davis he's such a skeptic about everything, and I'm such a I want to believe about everything, that he and I together make this great. He's also a horrible pessimist. I'm a great optimist, or however you want to word that. Maybe I'm a horrible optimist and he's a great pessimist, or however you want to word it. So when we get together yakking about crap, I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, there's some kind of monster in Arkansas. I can't think of the name of the damn thing right now.
Peter says the word is gullible.
Gulp.
Be that as it may. Yeah, we got a few things here. I can't remember what.
There's one that's got the word white in it. I don't remember what it is now.
The Fawk monster. Yes, that's it.
Is that it?
Interestingly enough, and this is just a weird footnote to Troll Lord Games history, just weird shit that we've encountered over the many decades. So Jason Walton, who you guys are familiar with, he's been doing art for us since he was the first artist that we ever hired. And his stuff has recently appeared the Dragons in the Monster book. So he did the Dragons in the Monster book. So Jason used to be, I don't know if he still is, a cryptozoologist. He did sculptures. You can see his sculptures in some early documentaries from the early aughts where he would, because he's from British Columbia, and up there they've got some kind of Loch Ness-like monster. I can't remember what it's called. And he would part of those people that would hunt this stuff down. So he did these sculptures. I remember seeing him in this documentary, and I was like, "What the?"
He's a sculptor. He does sculptures. He does sculptures.
He did sculptures.
We need him to make us some shit, man. That would be so fun.
It's just really cool. Moosey, I don't think that sounds right. Asher the Bear.
No, I think that's Jersey, actually. Asher.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Question from Odd One Man. How many adventures do you have on Castle ZAGYG?
So So your questions about Castle ZAGYG are always difficult to answer because it's such a monstrous project.
Yeah.
So first off, in Yigsburg and in the upper works and stuff like, and the East Mark, I mean, the only adventure hooks all over the place so that you can take it and develop it with. Now, in Castle ZAGYG itself, all of the castle and the dungeons is an adventure. That is an adventure. It's going to be a classic adventure that you have to go through, do X, Y, and Z to get, A, B, and C. Now, beyond that, there are 3 that I can think of, and probably more, but 3 that I can think of that were in development. Dungeon Delver over on Twitter. If you go to Twitter and hit up Dungeon Delver, he had written. I'm like certain it was mostly written in the teeth of Back National, which was an idea that Gary had. He had sculpted this whole thing out, and he hired Delver to do it years ago. So probably ancillary wise, I would say 3 to 5, maybe 6 adventures that are in the East Mark, in and around Castle ZAGYG, in and around Yigsburg. Just a rough guess. Most you called.
That's a good bit actually. Let's see. Oh, so Dark Elf Twilight asks, and I think this is probably just some confusion we caused, but he says, so Castle ZAGYG is going to be both a source book and an adventure module in one? It's actually probably
There's going to be 5 volumes, each one about 300 pages. So you're looking at 1,500 pages of content. And the Yigsburg book would be mostly setting material, and then the rest of it will be mostly adventure material. But it's heavily laced with setting material so that you know what this is, what that is, blah, 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 blah. Don't you?
I see. So then the source part's just all the information that's in there.
Yes. Now, Yigsburg has lots of adventure hooks in it, but there's no real adventures in Yigsburg. But by the time
it's a true. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, and it sets you up to go to Castle ZAGYG, and then there's the Mounts of Madness and the Emperons and the castle and the tower and then the dungeons. It's all very complicated. We'll try to have a graphic done by the time the Kickstarter starts. Okay, so there's a couple of questions. First off, I see, so no box set sadness, no ribbit. You're going to like this even better. So, and again, I want to give everyone a price shock. I really want to put this out there. This is not going to be cheap, but these books that we redo will be full color, 8.5 by 11 like we normally do, Smythe sewn, the whole 9 yards, all the quality, and they will go in a box. So you're going to get a game box with each 5 volumes. So it'll be 5 boxes, 5 volumes, and all of the maps that go with that section. So in this one, I think it's 2 maps. I think it's the town of Yigsburg and the East Mark. In the castle, there's at least 3 maps, if not 5 maps. And I think it's going to be 5 maps, and then going down from there. So you'll get 5 boxes, 5 maps. So there will definitely be maps. Castle ZAGYG will be 4. It'll be 5 volumes in total. The castle itself will be 4. So Yigsburg is the one.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. Do you have the ability to do VT versions of the ZAGYG stuff?
We have the legal right to do it. The ability is a different question. No one here at Troller Games is skilled enough to code any of that stuff. So Chuck manages that, and he's been reaching out to other designers. We've got the PHB and the M&T coming out at some point in the near future. So we're probably not going to include that in this Kickstarter because it creates something that we don't have control over, and we don't know when it can come out. And there's just too many wild cards that can get into that.
Yeah, I've learned the lesson the hard way about that stuff.
Yeah, it's just every time it doesn't matter. Yeah, probably we have the legal, and we will do everything we can, but it probably won't be part of this Kickstarter.
Definitely not initially. I mean, at the very least, maybe on down the road, I might double back and maybe at least do tokens and maps or something like that and put that up versus actually putting it out there on a system.
Now we are doing Bill. We're working with Bill Edmonds. We're hoping to get him back on board. He did the maps in Hermit and the C series, and if he can, then the maps will be compatible to VTT material. But
yeah. Let's see. Atsu asks, tell us about your most, and then we got to go after that, Steve. Tell us about your. Well, I've got one more question. Let me get it first, then you can tell this. This is from Will Martinez. What's the shipping timeline for the starter box set looking like? He can't wait for it.
So I think that I get the sample box tomorrow. That I got that notification today, and if I approve the sample box, then we go into full production of the box. They told me 4 to 6 weeks on the box, so I'm guessing about 4 to 5 weeks. So as soon as we get done with Gary Con, we'll get the box. Takes a week, probably second week of April. As soon as those boxers arrive, because we own our own print shop, before that happens, we'll already be printing the books. So we hope that by second or third week of April, this thing is dropped in the mail and headed to anyone who pre-ordered it. If you haven't, you can pre-order it on the website right now.
Yep. And and I guess someone asked earlier, maybe we should just have Dakota print a bunch up, and you'll just take it up there, and we'll have the boxes shipped up there, right?
There you
go. In the old days, you might do some shit like that. In the old days,
we've done shit like that before.
I guarantee you have. Yeah. All right, one last question, then I got to ask you. This is an important one here, actually. Chris asked, "Will this next week will we be able to add Yigsburg onto it, or just buy it now?" That's a good question about how we're gonna handle that with Yigs in the store versus Yigs in the.
Oh, we'll leave the collector's version up in the store. I mean, you'll be able to still buy that. It's
because it's retro, right? You know.
Yeah, it's retro. It's as it appeared in 2005. The new one will be very, very different. It'll same content, but more art, more pictures, full color, the whole 9 yards. If you want to get the old one, just get the old one. We're not going to take it down. There's a few hundred left. So, so this last question, tell us about your most memorable dragon fight, either as a kid or a player. All right, yeah. So there's been only a few. I'm very, very stingy with dragons. I don't deploy them very often. And there was the white dragon that killed Mark. So it's either going to be either the white or the black dragon. So I'm going to tell you both. Mark, I'll do very, very quickly. They fought this white dragon. They're like 12th level, whatever. AD&D fought this white dragon. And it was a ferocious fight. But they killed the creature. It crashes to the earth. Now, Mark had just joined my table. Todd and Mac and Charlie had been game with me for years. And the dragon is laying there dead. And Mark wanted to do that dragon slayer scene for the movie when the king comes up and puts his sword into it. And everyone's saying, don't do it. So Mark goes up, climbs up onto the dragon's chest, stabs the dragon. But before he can, the dragon lifts up and did his breath weapon and obliterated Mark's character off the face of the earth. And then they all had to go back in and start fighting the dragon again. It was really funny. But I think the most memorable one, Mac is about 10th level. The party's about maybe 8th, 9th, 10th level. I don't know, somewhere around in there. And they were far, far up in the north of the world of Arid, and they encountered this black dragon. And this ferocious battle goes on. It goes on for a very long time. Lots of healing, lots of give and take and what have you. And finally, one of my favorite tactics to do, the dragon will rise, swoop, try to grab and carry you up and drop you. Well, Mac's ranger got picked up and was being carried up into the air, and he kept wailing away. And he had a way, I can't remember what, he had a way in the first like maybe 100 feet to survive, but the dragon keeps going up and Mac won't let go. I guess Mac was on his back or something, I can't remember now, but he was clinging to it somehow. Dragon was dying. Dragon's just going straight up. And they get somewhere, and I kept telling Mac, even if you kill this creature, he goes, don't worry about it. And he, but he kept fighting that thing until he kept hitting it, kept taking damage until he slew that dragon somewhere around 1,200 feet. And we were all waiting. So Mac is like this fantastic role player. He's always got something in his pocket. He's always got something to pull at the table, the whole 9 yards. And I was expecting some, sleight of hand. I don't know what kind of magic item or whatever the hell. And Mac's going to have slain my dragon and descend victoriously. So when he does his last blow to the dragon, I tell him the dragon dies. I mean, it dies and it goes up. Its wings fold, its legs fold, its tail folds, and it begins to plummet back down, and you're clinging to its chest. What do you do? And we're all kind of looking at Mac like, what do you do? And he just sits there for like a solid 30 seconds and says nothing. And I'm like, Mac, you're falling fast. What are you doing? What is the character doing? And he goes, nothing. I don't got anything. I'm just going to die. I just fall with the dragon. So he fell the whole 1,200 feet. He and the dragon hit the ground simultaneously. He took, I don't know, 800 D6 points of damage or whatever the hell it was just instantly killed. But it was such a heroic moment that he's clung to that dragon and kept hacking at that dragon to kill it. That it has all of us still, we remember it as if it was yesterday. It was very cool. So that's probably the most memorable dragon fight that I've ever done. It was just cool. It was cool that he did that. He just sacrificed his character to kill him. Yeah, it was metal. That's perfect, Atsumari. That is absolutely it. It was metal. Yeah, you just expect, this veteran player to have a ring of feather falling or teleport or something. I don't know. He had nothing. He had nothing but heroism and dying in blood. There you go. Well, that's it. We are at 5:30. I am off to Little Caesars to get myself a pizza tonight, I think is what's going to happen. I thank you all for showing up. Please show up tomorrow night at 7. Luke will be on. Chuck will be hosting me and Luke as we talk more ZAGYG and Gygax and everything as we lead into the build up for this big launch over on Bagger Kid. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yes, Greg. It's probably what he was thinking. It's a great scene.
What's that?
Slim Pickens from whatever movie.
All right, let me.
When he's riding the nuclear bomb. Woo!
Oh yeah. That was crazy. I haven't seen that movie. Good Lord, I don't know when. All right, we're gonna raid into Art of Mike Disney and let you guys see we're still hanging out on Twitch. You can watch some mini paint. Looks like he's painting a Predator tank from Games Workshop. I think that's wild looking. Huh. All right, and we'll get that going. Thank you everybody again for coming out. And again, like Steve said, if you want to, please pass the word. There's the link. This is for the signups. We're looking forward to giving away that PDF copy of the Outs In, and then the raffle for those extra East marks we found.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, that's big stuff. So that's going to be exciting. All right, guys, listen, I will let you go, and we'll see you guys.
Agile. I don't know where you've asked questions, but we'll get answers to you. Sorry about that.
All right, y'all be good, and don't forget, Troza! Ow!